The Corkscrew Regional Ecosystem Watershed goes quietly about its business, cleaning our water, sheltering our wildlife, educating our children, comforting our souls, and keeping Southwest Florida green. But what if? What if, back in those early years, conflicting interests collided instead of cooperating? What if loggers went unchecked through Corkscrew Swamp, felling the ancient cypress, and developers drained the watershed to build rows of look-alike houses and condos? What would Southwest Florida look like in 50 years if CREW did not exist?
Well, I think there's a pretty good example of what it would look like, and that is development like the Golden Gate Estates development. That was a deep, swampy wetland, just like this, and they got permits to put in canals, drain the land, put in roads, and you have this low-density residential development that exists. I mean, it's there. You don't have to wonder. You can just fly over it and see it. And so I can't see why that could not have happened here.
Without CREW's pristine and protected 60,000 acres, a glimpse into the future foretells a grim scenario. Despite rampant development and an exploding population base, satellite images suggest an almost barren landscape, a brown and gray checkerboard of subdivisions and shopping malls, all but devoid of vegetation. The only green spaces visible are golf courses and a scattering of community parks. Most of the wildlife, the bears, the birds, the panthers, the deer, the alligators, have either died off or been driven south deep into the Everglades by armies of bulldozers that gobbled up their natural habitat.
It would drain the land and pretty much wipe out most of the wildlife, especially the wading birds. But as far as the wading bird activity, it's non-existent. And other wetland-dependent species like the gators and the otters wouldn't survive in a drained environment.
In the year 2050, the vast fertile wetlands have been drained to accommodate all this development, emptying the underground aquifers and triggering water shortages and the imposition of widespread water rationing.
Those lands that are in eastern Lee County that are being preserved, they are a direct source for our potable water. Without the water being retained or the land being developed and the water going away, we wouldn't be able to exist with the quality that we have.
Deprived of fresh water, Southwest Florida's estuary system, which once nurtured untold thousands of species of plants and sea creatures, is moribund and lifeless.
The water that flows out of this watershed supplies three coastal rivers. It supplies the Estero River and Estero Bay, the Imperial River, and the Cocohatchee River, and the whole Wiggins Pass area. So the entire coastal region from South Fort Myers to North Naples is dependent upon the freshwater flows for the estuaries to keep the estuaries healthy.
Most of Lee and Collier County's 900,000 residents may have no idea what CREW is or even that it exists. But without CREW, Southwest Florida would wear a dramatically different face today and far into the future.
We'd probably be the densest populated county in the state. When you think of, we have Cape Coral, we have Lehigh Acres, all those platted lands. If CREW was also all developed over, there would be no large natural system areas, no watershed systems, no areas where our water could soak down into the aquifers to be cleansed by the plants that it's slowly sheet flowing through. So it's huge for our area.
The next time you go to your automobile and it's in a parking lot in front of some store, just look around, and that's what Lee County would look like. It would be asphalt.
Instead of being a watershed, it would have been just a housing development. I don't know how far out development would have occurred on Corkscrew Road, but it sort of scares me to think of a future without CREW right here.
I would shudder to think, because without having purchased this land, to now protect the greenery, the open space, the water supplies, the habitat for wildlife, open recreational areas for people to enjoy, this would be a concrete jungle.
But that won't happen, and it won't happen because a handful of visionaries caught a glimpse of that future, didn't like what they saw, and set aside a 60,000 acre swath of unspoiled nature to remain forever free.